So this is a basic guide on how to use Ms219d. When you first enter the space, you may notice that the power is already switched on. If you do need to switch it on yourself, switch the equipment on first, at the wall socket, turn the Mac on, you'll hear the familiar bong of the Apple Mac firing up. Check the interface powered up, and you can see there that we've got power and it's being recognised by the Apple Mac. So you just want to check that phantom power is switched on as well. And then turn the speakers on. Then go to the computer, log in with your username and password, and go into Applications and find ProTools. You might find this dialog box pop up saying that your ProTools needs to be optimised. Just at this point, just ignore it and just click OK. It's going to ask you whether ProTools can access the microphone. Click OK. So you'll get this first dialog box pop up. This is called Dashboard. In here you set the sample rate to 48K, you use the I/O settings for stereo mix, and you make sure the bit depth is set to 24-bit, and you prompt for location. This is going to ask you where we're going to actually save our project. So you do this in advance before you even create anything within Pro Tools. And hit create, and we're just going to save our files, for this case, onto the desktop. We've created ourselves a new folder with our name. So we're just going to check the playback engine. It should be set to Sapphire for Ms219d. We don't have to worry about too much of the other buffer sizes and things like that at the moment. And we're just going to check the I/O settings and make sure we've got quite a few ins and outs, because this is an 8-channel interface, and we're now going to just create ourselves one mono audio track. So we're going to create that. We can use the keyboard shortcut Command Shift and N. So I've created my audio track. I'm going to name it something sensible, i.e. this, it will be just vocal, and hit OK. See here we've got both the arrange window and the mix window open. On the mix window, we just want to check that we've got the right inputs and outputs. So as we can see, we want input number 1 and output is going to monitors 1 and 2. If I turn input monitoring on, as I start to make some noise on the microphone, you should be able to pick up some of the signal. The microphone in this case is the AKG 414 in the little vocal booth, so I'm going to adjust the gain accordingly. So I've got a nice signal. I'm looking for good signal to noise ratio, double checking the phantom power's on, and you can see the signal's coming through, and that means I'm getting signal definitely into the interface. If I take the XLR out, I can change it for a different microphone, or if I was to use a guitar or bass guitar, I could plug directly into this interface using the jack connection. Then all I need to do is press the instrument button and I can plug my guitar directly in. So I'd use the same input track as I'd created on Pro Tools. So I arm the track, record enable, press record, then play, and as I start to make some sound, it will now be recorded into Pro Tools. Once I've recorded my audio, I want to make sure I can listen back to it and I can hear my sound. I'm just going to increase the actual size of the waveform so we can see it a little bit easier. Now if I go over to the SPL control monitor station, if I turn up the volume control and make sure switches L and R for left and right are enabled, I should get sound. I'm now going to create myself a stereo instrument track because I want to use the MIDI keyboard that's in front of me. So back to my mix window, and I need to load in a so back to the mix window, I need to load in a sound that I want. So for this, I'm just going to go to Instrument and use Mini Grand. So I want a piano sound. So sometimes you might not find its factory content. It's really easy to resolve this problem. Click on Browse, and it will point you to the correct location for the Mini Grand sound files. So as you can see, it's found Mini Grand, so just click on it and then hit choose, and it will load in all the sounds. Just be patient while it loads in. As you can see, the red line zips across. That means Mini Grand's fired up and it's working. And now if I press one of the keys, I can start to see that I'm getting some sound coming through. If I want to use the MIDI keyboard, I have to record and enable the track. And now when I press the MIDI keyboard in front of me, the Impulse keyboard, I'm getting some signal coming through, and also the Clavinova is wired up to it as well. So I'm now just going to create another stereo auxiliary track, and this time I'm going to name it Headphones. So I'm just sorting out a headphone feed as well. So what I'm going to do on both of these tracks, on the sends, I'm going to send to bus 1 and 2. And then on my headphone auxiliary I've just created, I put the input to bus 1 and 2 and the output to outputs 7 and 8, because output 7 and 8 is directly wired at the back of the interface into the headphone amp. So when I play this track now, if I look on the headphone amp, I can see that I'm getting signal coming through, and I've got headphones in the room. That's the master controller I'm just adjusting there. So we've got a master controller for all the 8 individual channels. They can be controlled independently, and you'll also find jack tie lines in 219C on the wall box. So I'm going to create another audio track, and this time I'm going to get a signal from 219C. So to note that inputs 1 and 2 are in 219D in the control room, and inputs 3, 4, 5 and 6 are in 219C. So as you can see there, inputs 1 and 2 are blocked off because they're being used in the other room, and from 3 onwards, this is where I plug my microphone into, and I can get signal from the live room through to the control room. Adjust the gain accordingly. As you can see, I've got a signal coming through, put input monitoring on, and I can record from either the little vocal booth just to the right or from the live room, which is Ms219c. When you come to book these spaces, make sure you book both rooms because they don't come as a package. You have to book Ms219D and 219C as 2 separate bookings. As you notice there, when I finish my session, I'm now just going to save my work to my external hard drive.